So after Angelica finishes mending the clothes, and exposes herself and her roommate's to leptospirosis, she encounters William in the corridor, and needless to say, it is love at first sight.
I'm awfully sorry. I didn't mean to...
Not to worry. It was nothing. I'm glad. I bet you look ravishing in this.
Very awkward love at first sight.
It seems fate is determined to throw us together.
Very, very creepy love at first sight.
Last I checked, it was sexual harassment to caress a woman's hand after you just met her in 1912. Also, I get it. This is the exact same plot from the James Cameron movie, except instead of a wealthy girl and a poor boy, it is a wealthy boy and a poor girl. Don't you just love the originality in this film? Oh boy, to use the same themes of social division and love at first sight. It's the freaking biggest cliche in the book, for God's sake!
William later goes to try and find Angelica in the cabin she walked into, but only finds UGH!
I said I didn't want to see that again.
But Gertrude lies and tells them it's just her and her daughters there. By the way, I also noticed something else with this film. Pretty equals good, ugly equals bad.
Subtlety, anyone?
Dejected, our hero retreats back to his cabin, suffering a bite from the love bug.
I met a sweet, charming girl. Suddenly, there she was. She just appeared out of nowhere. I don't know who she is, or even what part of the ship she's in.
Dude, she only said 7 sentences to you. You don't know the girl. How can you love her?
But is nonetheless reassured by his nanny, who can apparently make her voice echo.
We're on a ship in the middle of the ocean.
And is adept at ventriloquism.
No, you're not.
But enough of that. Later, Angelica and Granny are taking a stroll on the deck, talking about her encounter with William.
We're in the 20th century, dear. Young men are less timid with young ladies than they were in my day. But that's all right, as long as his intentions were good.
Okay, then. That still doesn't make it any less creepy or potentially dangerous.
William, on the other hand, is walking on the deck as well, when a rich old lady's granddaughter loses her ball.
My ball! That boy took my ball! Get me my ball!
Shut up, you little brat! You didn't even give him a chance to give it back to you. And besides, you're filthy, stinking rich. You can buy an entire store of them if you wanted.
In the veranda cafe, we see the big-boobed woman named Molly, who is also the ship's singer apparently, spar with First Officer Murdoch over whom she associates with.
Otherwise what? I'm always a perfect lady, and I've nothing to be ashamed of. So leave me alone.
Lady. What you are wearing there is hardly ladylike. In fact, the only kind of lady who wore strapless dress like that back then was a hooker.
Gaston also gives her a gift of Angelica's blue locket he found earlier on. Oh, and by the way, it was also hardly ladylike to accept gifts from complete strangers back then. And this scene was taken from that other Titanic movie.
Historical accuracy and consistency, people. Oh, and that's another ripoff right there.
We then cut back to the open deck where William finally meets Angelica again. And it is there that we see more of the awkward and creepy chemistry that characterized their last encounter.
I was too busy looking for someone. Someone with unforgettable eyes. And now that I've found her, I'm not going to let her get away from me.
I'm going to rape you!
While they waltz, Angelica finally starts talking some sense.
Please don't make fun of me. I don't belong in your world.
The most wonderful thing about this trip to America is meeting you.
Oh boy.
Then we see one of the mice again going into the kitchen, trying to get some food for the animals' party. Why are they having a party? What are they celebrating and why?
I don't know. It's never explained just why they're having a party in the first place. Thank you, movie, for another gaping plot hole.
Then we are treated to a completely pointless scene between Cook and Mouse that seems to have been taken straight from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's another ripoff there?
It ends with, what the hell? The chef gets burned up? Are you all sickos or something? No. This is not funny at all. It's demented, and it looks like a mockery of those Buddhist monks that set themselves on fire in protest.
Yeah, for kids!
Later, the mice and crow break into Molly's cabin to try and get Angelica's locket back. And they accomplish this by a series of funny noises and grunts.
Please say something!
Back in her cabin, Angelica really wants to go to the grand ball, but has nothing suitable to wear to the fancy occasion. But thankfully, Granny has a dress on hand that is just the right size. Where have I seen this scenario before? Oh, right. That other Titanic movie.
Oh, and that's another ripoff right there.
And it's just in time, too, because amidst all the poorly executed and pointless slapstick, Angelica arrives to be the most beautiful girl at the reception. Presumably after sneaking past security because third-class passengers were not even allowed in first class. And it is here that Gaston demonstrates his ability to walk through tables.
No one walks through tables like Gaston.
Through a perv shot of Angelica's boobs, Gaston realizes that he's in serious trouble now, because Angelica has her locket back, and that is not going to bode so well with Molly, who is singing a song about someone being in her blood. If you ask me, this sounds like something Edward Cullen would sing to Bella Swan.
You're in my blood, you're in my blood, you're in my blood, my blood.
I should also mention that the Titanic never had a stinger with them historically, or a backup choir for that matter. Historical accuracy and consistency, people.
Anyway, Gaston gets pawned by Mary for his deceit, and the two lovers run off to another room, which strangely looks like when Jack and Rose run through the boiler room in the James Cameron movie.
Oh, and that's another ripoff right there.
So in the adjacent room, Angelica starts talking some sense again. One of the very few moments where logic is injected into this movie.
No, you know nothing about me.
But William declares his undying love for her.
Nothing you could tell me could prevent me from loving you.
I have genital herpes! No way, Jose. They then share a horribly animated kiss which somehow causes Angelica's green gloves to mysteriously vanish. And then... okay... we see a shot of the Titanic sailing. Why?
To show that the ship is moving?
The kiss is rudely interrupted by Gertrude and her daughters, whose voice seems to make Angelica's gloves reappear again. And speaking of which, what is up with Gertrude's voice? Half the time she sounds like a freaking man.
And don't you spoil things, Angelica. Angelica! Pick up that luggage and get a move on. I want her here immediately, if not sooner.
I wonder if maybe, just maybe, she's Tim Curry's grandmother.
I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
No, thanks. I don't want to think about it.
But before they could do anything more, Gertrude and her daughters are scared off by this.
Ha ha, very funny.
So after that bit of humor, William sees Angelica off for the night, and down below in the cargo hold, the animals are finally having their party. Once again, it's never really explained why they're having a party in the first place, but it all seemed to hinge on the success of Angelica and William's romance.
I don't know, but I guess it's what the Nostalgia Chick would refer to as asexual codependents that thrive on the relationships of others. Thank you, Nostalgia Chick.
And it is here we are treated to a song sung in Spanish that, believe it or not, was done by an actual mariachi band, and not that hideous ditty in the edited version of the movie, along with several other scenes ripped off from the Aristocats and Lady and the Tramp.
está grande junto a los amigos. Yo lo quería así. Todo será ideal.
Check and check. Where the hell is that iceberg anyway?
Oh, there it is! And I should mention that a lot of the angles for this scene were taken shot for shot from the James Cameron movie. Yet another ripoff. Meanwhile, in the boiler room...
The men are trying to bail out water from the ship by throwing it at the walls? What the hell sense does that make? People, if the ship is sinking and you want to bail out water, throw it outside of the vessel, not at the walls. Oh, good grief. Looks like they're having a spring break blast fight.
Down in third class, Angelica and Granny realize that something is amiss.
I think you better wake the children.
Oh, what a shame. They're sleeping so peacefully. Let's find out what's happening first.
Lady, an emergency with terrible sounds and people running in the background is occurring, and you want to go and see what's happening first because you don't want to wake up the kids? Yeah, that's really good parenting there.
William soon arrives to find Angelica and the third-class passengers locked behind the gates. But it looks like it will be a sad ending for all of them, because as we remember from the history books that... Okay, screw that.
Historical accuracy and consistency, people.
They then all arrive in the first-class smoking room, where Officer Murdoch stops them by the threat of violence, although he does nothing but repeat himself.
Can't go through this way. Don't force me to resort to violence. Can't go through this way. Don't force me to resort to violence. You can't go through this way. Don't force me to resort to violence. Don't force me to resort to violence.
Ooh, I'm so afraid.
Nevertheless, he relents and only allows women and children through, with William promising Angelica a swift reunion. On deck, behold, the magical flying boat which doesn't require any oh look, there they are. But even in this scene of impending peril, which is oddly quite calm with no frantic passengers running about, they still manage to shove in tacky, tasteless humor, which I might add even carries on into the lifeboat, and suddenly we find that the rich lady with the jewels has spontaneously changed gender.
You had a tiger on board?
What, is she part frog or something? I mean, she looks the part, but that's a bit much. Or is she Tim Curry's great-grandmother?
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
Oh, no you don't.
Okay, so what we have here is that while hundreds of people are dying, or going to die, the animators decided to make a whole joke of the event? Yeah, for kids.